Pretty crazy, huh? So you probably didn't hear anything I said. So you saw that you had the green engine started light coming on. There were no other fault lights when it was running. It was supplying your 120, 60 amps over to here, which comes up to here, which I said was in the opposition still. We had flipped this off. You're working in the dark, so always have you're going to need to have a flashlight upstairs. I've got them hanging on hooks kind of throughout the cabin. The one thing you want to do is you want to, because all these will be in the on position when you lose power, you want to take them all to the off position. And the reason why I say that is because anytime you're layering power on, you don't want to just throw the generator switch to the on position and cause a spike because when there's an instant hard demand for a full load, the current's gonna surge for a second, and you might pop your any of your line protector outlets or any of your plug strips and stuff. So you always want to. Now this is the ET, the electronics guy, me coming out. You always want to load shed a little bit. So all of this stuff off. You flip this to the on position with everything off. There's absolutely no load on it, so it's just running. And the first thing I always flip on is number 11. And the reason why is because that's the shop lights and receptacles. So when I flip that one on, I can suddenly see, because when you lose power sometimes, and we don't lose it often up here, but when you do lose it, it's in the winter, it's dark. I mean, it's dark almost all the time. So you're always coming down with a flashlight and you're trying to look at stuff and you're trying to get the generator going. So I always flip this one on. So I take this to the on position. There's no load. Everything's off. I flip this one to the on position to get my lights back. And then I'll just start shedding stuff in. I would say it doesn't necessarily matter which, but a good rule of thumb is just to kind of go up. If you want, I'll turn the well pump on and the water heater on. Now, depending on if you need to use the water heater, which you would use for taking baths or dishwasher or, washing dishes in the sink. If you don't necessarily need to use that during a power outage when you're running the generator, I sometimes leave it off only because to me it's kind of silly to run the water heater when I'm not using it, especially when I'm putting a load on a generator. So it just allows the generator to not work so hard. Another thing I will tell you while we're talking about the water heater switch is that this line goes over, and you probably saw this kind of odd looking thing happening here. What this is actually this is the supply line that goes into this timer for the water heater. And then this becomes, see if I can open it up easily enough. Oh, it's going to take two hands, I think. This becomes a timer, much like your the 24-hour dial timer, becomes a timer much like your water timers. I don't use it, so it's bypassed, but absolutely can use it. But what it'll do is it'll basically say, okay, I'm supplying power to the water heater for the morning. I'm going to heat that water up for the baths, and then I'm going to turn it off during the day. Then I'm going to turn it on at night again. So that you're not paying to continually heat your water when you don't need it, especially when it's cold outside. So just so you know, that's what that is right there. It's just a little timer for that. Again, I do not use it. But coming over here as your load shedding on, I often will not turn this on if it's in the middle of the day or if it's at nighttime or something when we've all taken showers, just because until we get main power back, I just don't want to extra load on the generator. All right, and then so I would turn the furnaces on, obviously. Again, if you're wood heating, you don't have to turn these on. So sub feeder to the family room is an important one. you're gonna feed the power out to the family room, and then you're gonna push the last one, which is the sub feeder to the main cabin. Now, this will actually put everything online. What you're not going to do is turn this one on. You're going to leave that one off. I have left it on. I've left all these on with a generator, and all that really happens is sometimes your generator, depending on demand, will groan, so the engine will come down a little bit, and you'll kind of get some groaning. So I just decided, I really, if we don't have power, we could switch everything off and turn on the spa, but I mean, I don't see the point of it really during a power outage. Now we usually have during the winter, well, even during the summer, it depends on what it is, snow loads or winds, but we probably during the course of the year don't have any more. I don't think we've ever had more than 3 or 4 power outages in a year. And they're never usually more than 2 to 4 hours outage. You can go on MEA's Facebook page. This is a tip, because they have what's called a Smart Hub app that you can get on your phone as soon as you set your account up with them. That's wonderful for paying your bills, for monitoring all of your usage. And then you also go to the Facebook page. The Smart Hub app on your phone will be where you'll log the outage, but you're usually going to be slow to the trigger, because as soon as we lose power up here, there's about 50 million people in Glacier View that call MEA. So I always watch the MEA Facebook page, because they're real good about saying trucks have been dispatched, trucks are on scene, pulled down, expected uptime is 3 hours, and then people are always checking back in on the Facebook page, and then they'll get to the point where they'll say, okay, power should be restored for all Glacier View residents. At that point, you kind of keep your eye on it. At that point, you want to come down, shut your generator off, restore everything back, so that you don't, overwork your generator for no reason. The one thing I didn't touch on was the electrical part. So this battery back here, it's in great shape. I trickle charge it every now and then just to keep it charged up. But that's what turns it over. And then these 2 hoses are the lines that go into your 55-gallon drum. I think you have about 2/3 here. I would say the generator would probably run continuously for it probably would run for 50 plus hours. So you probably have enough for an entire season. Fuel-wise, diesel-wise, what I did was I used to have Crowley fill it, and it was always a pain in the butt, because diesel oil is different than their heating oil, and it's all about taxes and things. So what I would usually do is I have these guys right here, and they just sit out here. And when I go to town, I'll fill the 2 of them up, especially if it's coming into winter. And I go to town once a week, so maybe over the course of 3 weeks, fill them up. Well, that's 10 gallons there, another 10 gallons, another 10, that's 30. So I can fill this thing all the way up to the top. But I'll just tell you, it doesn't. I have never ran out of diesel. I don't think I've ever been below 30% left in the bottom of the tank. So you can have Crawley do it. They've done it for me in the past, but again, they have a special truck that comes up. Sometimes scheduling's a pain in the butt. And then you got to pay Crowley prices, which may or may not be less than you can get down at the diesel place, because you can go to any of the gas stations and get heating oil. Again, so that's what these 2 yellow guys are for. Now, when you restore, the first thing you're going to do is shut down. All right, so you shut down the generator. I just did that, shut it off. Then you're going to walk over here. You're going to take, again, everything to the off position, right? And then you're going to flip the utility, the top breaker, from off to on, because you're reconnecting to MEA. and the generator from on to off. So it'd be in this position. These will all be off. And then you can flake these back on, including the spa, okay, until everything's powered back up again. And it looks just like that. All right. And then I'll walk, since I'm talking about that right now, about the spa. I'll walk out here and show you that. I'm just going to show you the power for it, though. I'm not going to talk about the spa quite yet. All right. So this is your spa breaker switch. You got a test for your GFCI down here, on, off. This line comes from that 50 amp breaker, and then the other side comes over to here and feeds the spa. Ooh, we just had a big old rain storm over here. Okay. I think when I do the house walk, the interior walk around, I will stop and show you the distribution panels. Nothing to know there that's any different. The main thing is, how do you get this guy to turn on? How do you maintain it? You know, what's the troubleshoot? You know, if the generator's running but you don't have any power, check this breaker down here, because that's more than likely it might have tripped off. Sometimes if you get a little surge in a load, make sure your plug's all the way in. Make sure your breakers are configured properly. Okay, well, and your filters, replacement oil filters, air filters, and diesel oil is right here for you. Diesel motor oil. It's a special oil, so make sure you use that oil and those filters when you're doing your maintenance. I will tell you, it's already been checked for the season this year, so nothing to worry about. And if you don't use it a ton, it's probably good for next year too, but you always want to check it before the winter season starts. So that's backup power.